Welcome to the Project with Sam and Lewis, the podcast with the mission to cover every project throughout pop culture and history. I'm Sam.
And I'm Lewis.
And this week is the first episode of the spookiest month of the year.
Ooh.
Projoctober.
It's back, baby!
So Projoctober, like I said, the spookiest month of the year.
It is the spooky month.
We're going to cover all sorts of creepy, crawly.
Yeah, we look for the spookiest projects around, and we've got 5 weeks of Projoctober this year.
Yeah.
Last year we had 4 weeks, and it was great fun. And
it was. We've got even more this year.
Even more. We've got some different stuff that we haven't done before.
Yeah.
Mixing it up.
Yeah.
Mixing it up. It's going to be a good month.
It will. And we're starting that off in a very strong way with the sequel to a horror film, the sequel TV show to a horror film. And you'll know if you've looked at the title of this episode, it's the Tremors TV Show.
It certainly is.
Well, the first of 2 Tremors TV shows we found out.
Yes, this is the early 2000s one that I didn't know existed until about a week ago.
Yeah. We'll talk about Tremors a bit more in a little bit, but it's quite a fun...
It was something.
It was a fun little start. Not quite as maybe horrific as we were imagining. But
no, but,
yeah.
You know...
Before we get into anything else, we've got time codes in the episode description. So if you want to skip straight to personal projects, we've got a hell of a lot to cover there.
Yeah, we do.
We'll be talking about the first 3 episodes of Disney's Andor.
That is how it's pronounced.
And/or. She-Hulk. I've forgotten what the other ones.
Power Rings and Dragon House.
Dragon House. Yeah, of course. How can I forget Dragon House? So yeah, if you want to skip to those, that'll probably be about half the episode. So go ahead and skip straight to that if you're not interested in the Tremors TV show.
Oh, but you should be, because stuff happens.
Yeah, there's a guest star in this.
Yeah,
quite
there
noticeable.
is.
Yeah. But yeah, before we get into any of that, how are you today, Lewis?
Yeah, not bad. It was September was like an expensive month. So towards the end, I really didn't have much money.
Yeah, same.
And then yesterday was payday.
Okay.
And feeling a bit rough today.
Yeah, so I haven't been paid yet as of time of recording. But yeah, so I imagine in a couple of days' time I'll empathise with you and I'll think back to this episode and I'll think.
When you listen to this on Monday, you'll be like, oh, yes.
Yes, I empathise. I'll feel horrific, just like the topic that we're covering today.
Oh, wait, you're saying the episode's horrific?
Yeah, it's going to be horrifically good.
That's
a term people use.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Just today, somebody brought something up, and I was going, "Wow, that is horrifically good. Well done, you."
Yeah. I'm all right. Thanks for asking.
I hadn't got there yet. Patience, Sam. I was just, preparing myself. But if we're gonna go straight into it. How are you, Sam?
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, nothing to report, really.
Well, I'm glad you made a big deal out of that.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Been up to much?
No. I've not been up to anything. Doing some Projoctober style stuff. But yeah, not really anything. Looking forward to the weekend. We're recording this just before the weekend, so...
Yeah, we are.
Gonna have an absolute mad one, I'll tell you that.
A mad one.
Have an absolute mad one. But enough about me. What's that first? What's it called? Segment.
Are you okay? Is it because that took too long to ask you how you are?
I'm so excited about Projoctober. That's what it is.
Oh, okay. Project news. As always, I've googled the word project and picked 2 little bit of news to talk about.
Yeah. Oh, and as I mentioned very briefly before recording, I've actually got a couple of bits as well.
Yes. So I've got one that I thought was quite funny, and then one that is something that you may have seen.
Ooh, okay.
So the first one is
might be the same thing I've got, to be honest.
Maybe. One thing is from The Independent.
Okay.
Art dealer used cancer charity funds on project to build giant dragon statue.
Okay, right.
Simon Wingett Great name for somebody who wants to build a dragon statue. Spent hundreds of thousands on plans for a landmark he hoped would rival the Angel of the North.
Right.
And there's an image there of the design that I'm showing you.
Okay, yeah, I mean, pretty much what I would have imagined there. From,
But yeah, basically, his dad set up a cancer relief because he had throat cancer and wanted to help others that were suffering from the same.
Okay.
Simon inherited this foundation and decided to use the money to build. He's had to repay £117,000 because he was planning on building a big dragon statue in Wales.
How bizarre.
60-meter tall Wrexham landmark.
Okay, yeah. Well, and so so it's not going ahead.
Oh no, he got found out and they sued
beforehand.
him.
Right,
Well,
okay,
somebody sued him.
I would have thought probably would have heard something about that if it had gone ahead, or at least was in the works. But how bizarre.
Yeah. I just saw it and I was like, you don't see news like that very often.
No.
It was yeah, and I'm a little gutted there's not a 60 meter dragon statue in Wrexham, but maybe, giving the money to cancer research is more important.
Definitely, yeah. I thought it's pretty hard to argue that one there.
And the other bit of news I've got is from NME.
Oh yeah, no, this isn't anything to do with what I've got.
Marvel's Blade project loses director Bassam Tariq weeks before filming.
Yeah, I did see this. Yeah, I saw people positing maybe Jordan Peele. I don't know why particularly.
Because it's about a black man,
that might,
maybe.
Yeah, I think that might be why. Yeah.
Daniel Kaluuya as Blade.
Just recast, yeah.
His exit is due to continued shifts in our production schedule.
Right. So
that's not good news, is it?
It's not, but it's not creative differences, which is normally a bit of a stamp of death on things like this.
It was due to start shooting in November, so
wow, okay,
literally next month.
Yeah, we've there was actually some rumors, leaks, etc. that in the Werewolf by Night special, which I think is coming out as time of recording, I think next week.
Oh, okay.
No, sorry, as time of release next week, something like the 6th or the 7th. Wait, is that? What fucking whatever. I don't know what day it is. But yeah, there was a rumor that Blade was supposed to be a cameo, so that was going to be first appearance.
Right, okay.
So whether that's true or not, I think the idea was that it was cut for time, or they hadn't figured certain creative things out yet. So maybe it's not happening. But it would be interesting to see him pop up. I think there's monster hunters in it, so it would have made sense for him to turn up and be like, "Am I late?" And it's like, "Yeah, you're 40 minutes."
It's a
late,
nice little light introduction before we get the Blade film
and
type thing.
Thematically makes sense. So
yeah, but I wonder who they'll get in now.
Yeah, I guess they'll push it back a bit then, because
unless they've got someone in mind already.
Yeah,
like they often will find like a kind of a lesser known indie director who's had one big success.
That's their formula at the moment, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it has been for a while.
And then not let them do anything creative at all. Yeah.
Like, we're both Marvel fans,
but not disillusioned as to what it really is.
Yeah, like the directors rarely put their own mark on a Marvel film.
Yeah. And compared to I was looking back recently at my kind of top things of the year so far, and there's no Marvel stuff in there. I enjoyed a lot of it, but I don't think we've had a pretty good year for film and TV so far. Yeah, and the Marvel stuff is enjoyable, and I watch it all. But it's not. It doesn't rate anywhere near some of the other stuff.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. Like,
I think it's been we've talked about Phase 4 before. It's
just a bit.
It's a bit meh, but
maybe it's the beginning of the end of the MCU.
It may well be. I mean, it needs to. Yeah, it's not really the place. I suppose it is the place to talk about it. We're talking about Blade. It needs to have something that kind of picks it up and gives it direction. But we're about to finish Phase 4 with Black Panther 2.
This has been the least interesting phase.
Yeah, unless the last 3 episodes of She-Hulk somehow do something incredible.
I really, really, really doubt that.
I really doubt it. I also think that we might not see. Well, we're going to be proved wrong because there's an episode out today that I don't think either of us have watched. I don't think Daredevil will be in it much at all, and maybe right at the very end. I think maybe as a tie-in to further things.
Yeah.
Which is going to be really fun to watch everyone online have a hissy fit about how little Daredevil was in this program about a different character.
Yeah, that's true. But, you know, it's...
Or she just turns to the camera and says, "Do you think Daredevil was going to be in this?"
Yeah, I have to say, if somebody told me now, oh, Daredevil's not going to appear in those last 3 episodes, I'm not entirely convinced I'd even watch them.
I wouldn't watch them as they come out. I'd probably catch them up
at
some point in one weekend, kind of thing. Because they're about 15 minutes, aren't they? At the end of the day, they're not long episodes.
I was on the way here. I know this is going way ahead. Right. I was like, we're going to talk about She-Hulk in Personal Projects.
Yeah.
I hope Sam remembers what happened because I have no fucking idea.
I've actually started making very brief notes when I watch stuff because
I'm sure as soon as you talk about it, I'll be like, oh yeah, that's happened.
I can't remember what happened at all at the moment, but we'll talk about it in about an hour's time. Hopefully.
Yeah, I think that. Well,
so that was your 2 newses, was it? Because I've got a couple of bits.
And now it's time for
Sam's news, because they're not directly Project E. One of them I was considering not bringing up, but as we were talking about Marvel stuff, it's vaguely related.
I boo if it's bad?
You can do a Project Boo.
True.
The first one is related to stuff that we've been talking about consistently. Joe Barton, who we'll know as the writer and creator, was it, of Lazarus Project?
Yes, got a lot of time for Joe Barton.
Yeah, well, you'll have even more time for him because he is writing the new Cloverfield entry.
Is he?
And looking up some news
that's a big step.
Well, apparently he's been pegged for it.
Whoa!
Yeah, if you go on Google Images, it's a real treat.
Oh my god!
No, he's been pinned for it. Maybe since like early 2021. So
really?
That must have been in the works.
Well, the other show he did before was big and popular.
I think that he had something that was cancelled as well. Not in
I mean, to be fair, like Cloverfield films are hit and miss.
Yeah,
I would argue there's one popular one that I don't think is very good.
Is that the first one?
Yeah, and then you've got a really, really good one that didn't quite get enough.
That's
attention.
Not really a Cloverfield film.
Yeah, and then a third one that I didn't watch and everyone said was shit.
Yeah, that's also that you can tell where it's been added into the thing.
Yeah.
At the end, and they mention Cloverfield off screen. It's like someone going Cloverfield, like with their mouth covered, kind of thing. It was a film already.
10 Cloverfield Lane is really good.
Yeah, 10 Cloverfield Lane is good, and that is the director who did Prey that I talked about a couple of weeks ago. But also in this, he was also Matt. What's he called? Not Matt Reeves. That's the GCPD, Gotham Police series that was supposed to happen.
Yes.
He was also going to write that.
Huh.
So he must have some relationship with Matt Reeves in that sense, doing Cloverfield, which is a sequel to Matt Reeves' film, because Matt Reeves did the original Cloverfield.
Did he?
Yes.
So
they must know each other in some ways. To have this. There's a lot of connections here.
They're actually lovers.
And he's doing the pegging. That makes complete sense. Yeah. That's that. Any thoughts on that other than what we?
Yeah, no, I mean, we both really like the Lazarus Project.
Yeah.
And because it was kind of sci-fi, but like fairly original sci-fi.
Yeah.
I think a Cloverfield film could be a good fit for Joe Barton from what we've seen of him. So
it depends on which angle they take as well, because the last one was like particle accelerators in space, and it was almost like Event Horizon.
I think after the kind of response to Cloverfield Paradox, they're going to be very careful about.
It's got to be monster movie, surely, because that's what Cloverfield is at its heart. But hey, the second bit of news you may have seen posted around. It was yesterday, as of time of recording.
Ryan, see stuff.
Do you see Ryan Reynolds posting?
Oh yeah, the
Deadpool 3. So Deadpool 3, here's a video he posted on Twitter, Ryan Reynolds, and he's like, we wanted to give you something for D23. We didn't really have any ideas of what to go with it, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, we had one idea. And he's like, hey, Hugh. And Hugh Jackman's behind him in his house. He's like, how about playing Wolverine one more time? And he's like, yeah, I'm in. And then it does the Deadpool logo. And then they do the 3 slashes over it.
Like Jurassic Park 3 logo.
Exactly like that. And yeah, so that's something.
I can't say I'm surprised.
No.
It's kind of, I don't want to say given, but like, it's just like, yeah, of course.
They released another video shortly afterwards, which was supposed to be a Q&A where they're both sitting there. And as they start explaining what's going to happen in the film, it starts playing Wham over the top. And then you can just see them like acting stuff out on the sofa. Pretending to like, this is quite a funny little thing.
Yeah.
They start by saying like, we're not going to interfere with the Logan stuff, blah, blah, blah. But I've seen since those were posted that there is potentially some contractual stuff, which means that Disney can't recast characters until 2025.
Right, like what we spoke about there's some right stuff about like using the X-Men title.
It's because the characters in the first class casts were contracted until 2025.
Right.
So that's why Charles Xavier was Patrick Stewart
and fan service.
So it does make sense in that context there, which is kind of a shame, but I guess they'll do Secret Wars universes, all that shit. And
and I think the way
you really just trailed off there, didn't you?
I started thinking about what I was going to talk about in personal projects. So, the way Marvel's been doing their multiverse, it is kind of like anyone can show up. It doesn't fucking matter. You know,
fuck it is basically their new catchphrase.
I'm quite tired, you know.
Okay, of Marvel. I don't think we'll come back to this when we talk about She-Hulk a bit later.
And you know,
that's what happens when I bring my own news. It just completely derails the format there.
I'm looking forward to it.
I mean, I'd watch those the 2 videos together about a minute and a half. So if you have a chance, anyone listening and you give them a watch, they are what you'd expect, funny little things.
Yeah, I mean, Deadpool's always had like really good like promo and advertising. There was
I think it was pre this, and I can't remember if I'd heard it in videos or whatever or online. There was people suggesting the idea of having a film where Deadpool gets Hugh Jackman, the actor, and he thinks he's Wolverine, and then they go on adventures together.
That'd be fun.
And that could be a way around the kind of continuity side of it.
Yeah.
But who's to say, really?
It's mad to think that, like, Deadpool, like, first, like, got the break from that, like, leaked, very intentionally leaked, clip of him on the bridge and jumping into the car.
Yeah. And then they just used that for the main part of the whole first film, didn't they? Yeah.
And it's like...
And didn't Ryan Reynolds basically admit to leaking that? Like 5 years later,
I mean, Fox are fucking idiots. Of course Deadpool's going to be popular. I don't know why they were like so cautious about it.
And the fact that although in Origins he was butchered for the most part, that the first bits with him, it's like, there was something there.
And you could tell that like Ryan Reynolds was a fan of the character.
Yeah, he's basically like, he is just so suited for that, isn't he? Yeah.
Cool. Right, so we go into our first Projoctober topic of the year.
Yeah.
I was going to say month. I was like,
Yeah, both, yeah.
Of Projoctober 2020. Projoctober 2020. Oh my god. Projoctober 2022. Brought to you by Scary Stuff.
I think we should do that every time.
Yeah. Anyway, so it was Tremors.
Yeah, Tremors TV show.
Episode 8, Project 412.
Yes.
Did you happen to see the release date of this episode?
Was it 412 or was it now?
No.
Now. It was released now, right now.
Oh, shit.
We're watching it right now.
Oh my god. It's 2003.
Okay.
June 27th, 2003.
Oh, okay.
Better known as my 9th birthday.
Wow.
I was like, that's fun. I certainly didn't watch this episode on my birthday.
No, it's slightly unsuitable for a 9-year-old child.
Yeah, and if you had said Tremors to me when I was 9, I'd have no idea what you're talking about.
You would have started shaking like this.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, I'm actually right. Thanks.
Cheers, I'm full, thanks.
Before we get into this specifically, what's your kind of knowledge of Tremors as a general concept?
I'd seen like bits and pieces of the first film when I was, youngish, not 9, like 15 or 16. And then about half a year ago, maybe, me and Amy watched the first Tremors on like a Saturday afternoon or something.
Right.
It's on Prime, I think, or it was at the time. It's pretty good. It's a kind of schlocky, kind of silly action horror kind of thing.
Is it like
feature.
Scary, or is it more just silly?
It's very so. I'm guessing you haven't seen it.
No.
No. It's very silly. It's the focus on the worms and the kind of it's all practical effects.
Is it multiple worms?
Yes, there's multiple worms. You said pre-recording the June comparison.
Yeah,
it is. They're much smaller. They're supposed to be kind of the biggest one is, I don't know how big is big, like the size of a car. They're not like humongous worms.
So we see one in this episode, and I was a little disappointed by the size of it, because I was thinking of like the June worm, or like the Mandalorian worm.
But it's similar in the whole vibration kind of thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of the first one, it's Kevin Bacon is the main guy.
Yeah.
And he's got this guy who's either his brother or his friend, and they're like kind of redneck, like losers in this small town. And they're about to like pack up and go to the big city. And as they're leaving, like mutilated cattle or whatever turn up, and they end up coming back. It becomes a kind of cool like siege type thing where they're all sitting on their rooftops and they're like trying to get between different rooftops.
Right.
Because if they go on the ground, they get eaten almost immediately.
Is it good?
I'd say it's a fun watch. It's a shortish film, and it's much better than this episode for sure.
Right,
Not the episode of the podcast, of course, but the episode of the TV show. I would recommend it in like a kind of hungover Saturday, Sunday kind of thing.
Right, okay.
Especially if you can get it on the streaming easily. Yeah.
So you say it's on Prime?
It was when I watched it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have no.
Yeah. So before this, my entire knowledge of Tremors was Kevin Bacon was in the first
one.
There's been multiple sequels.
Yes.
And it's about Big Worm.
That's it, yeah.
That was everything.
Yeah.
It turns out there's been 7 Tremors films and 2 series.
2 series, yeah. I had that's what I was gonna do. I had somebody did a Reddit thread that went through the whole history of Tremors, like the production and how it like lost its way with the TV shows and stuff. And the intro to the massive mega post was like, I've been banned from Reddit for saying this and stuff. It didn't seem like particularly offensive, but I think it was like quite an in-depth kind of thing.
Why did you get banned from Reddit for that?
I don't know. So maybe it was like racist as well or something. But I started reading it, and then I accidentally closed the tab, and I just remembered now. So I didn't do any research, but yeah, there's this was quite different to that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it seems more like, I mean, I don't know what Tremors is like the films, but it seems quite like PG-13 equivalent of like a scary film.
Yeah, I'd say it's like a creature feature kind of thing.
I did spend a lot of the episode trying to figure out if they were like taking the piss out of rednecks or if they were just rednecks.
Yeah,
like I couldn't tell if the characters were genuine or they were like a piss take.
I think it's all supposed to be a little bit caricature.
Yeah.
Because Kevin Bacon is definitely like Like he's the lead, but he's not like a handsome lead. He's a bit of like a goofball. And then he's got like another guy who's a bit more like the rugged kind of.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, you got any more info about?
Yeah. So the TV series in particular
Hmm.
was written by S.S. Wilson and Brent Maddock, who wrote the first 4 Tremors films.
Okay, so it is true to
And this is after they had the first 3 Tremors films. Then this came out immediately following Tremors 3. And then the 4th one came out, and they wrote all of that.
Okay, right.
They also wrote Wild Wild West.
Oh, really? Okay,
which is a bit random, but
yeah. I think Wild Wild West is all right.
I haven't seen it. I just know it as the film that Will Smith turned down the Matrix for.
Yeah. And one of his credit rap songs where he summarizes the whole film.
And I've heard the song.
Yeah.
And it's also the other creator was Ron Underwood, who directed the Tremors films.
Right.
So it's the writers and directors of Tremors did make this, which is it gives it some credibility.
Yeah, I can see as being a fan at the time that would be quite appealing going into this.
Ron Underwood also directed 3 episodes of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right, yeah,
randomly.
The name seems familiar. I guess I've read it on an intro.
I didn't recognise the episode names, but I did recently watch S.H.I.E.L.D. and enjoyed it.
Yeah, as always. Yeah.
So I've got a list of load of cast members here.
Yeah.
There's a couple that didn't have Wikipedia pages, and I got the characters.
There's only one that I recognised as being a carryover from the films.
So yeah, that is probably Michael Gross as Bert Gummer.
Yes,
who is in all 7 Tremors films.
Wow. Okay.
He's also in Family Ties. He's in the Batman animated series as Mojo, one of the villains.
Right.
He's also in How I Met Your Mother as Alfred Mosby.
Oh, Ted's dad. Yeah. I can picture that. Yeah.
But he's like one of the main characters from the Tremors films, I believe.
Yeah, he's like he's the same as he is in this. He's like the grumpy town guy who has loads of guns.
He seems like the main character in this.
Yeah,
possibly.
although like the handsome guy is like first in the credits, and he's like the guy.
But
telling
that guy
the story.
didn't have a Wikipedia page.
Right, he looks really familiar, but I think he just looks like a lot of early 2000s.
Yeah. So other people have got Leela Lee as Jodie Chung,
the shopkeeper.
Yeah, who's in a few episodes of Better Call Saul, a few episodes of Scrubs. People won't recognize her from.
Yeah.
Dean Norris.
Yes, who's not in this episode.
Who plays W.D. Twitchell, who's like the local police sheriff.
Yeah.
But he's not in this episode.
Which is such a shame, yeah.
Also, so people know him from Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
He's got quite a wild filmography.
Yeah, I saw him pop up in something else recently.
So I've got he had load of small roles in the 80s and 90s in films.
Yeah.
He's got a small role in Police Academy.
Okay.
Lethal Weapon, Total Recall, Terminator 2, and he's in Starship Troopers. And I was like,
Starship Troopers is what it was.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a bigger role in that. But I was like, they are some like huge, like proper classic like action film stuff that he just happened to turn up in all of them.
Yeah.
He's also one of many, many, many people that we've covered who turns up in Lost.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because you know everyone's in fucking Lost.
On the topic of Breaking Bad, characters, actors, all that sort of thing. I was watching Beverly Hills Cop, the first one.
Right. Nice.
Never seen it before. It was quite fun. And the guy who plays Mike from Breaking Bad, Jonathan Banks, he turns up as a very similar character as he plays in Breaking Bad, but with like hair and considerably younger because it's early 80s. I was like, I know that guy. And I looked it up and I was like,
he's in something else.
I think he's just played a bit like.
I think since Breaking Bad, he was in something Christina was watching. He's a bit more of a fun.
He's in Community. He's in some later seasons. Of Community.
I think I might have seen him in Community when I was here once.
Yeah,
I did.
He takes they in the later series they swap the cast around a bit as people left, and he takes the old man position.
Right. So we've also got J.D. Walsh as Larry Norval. Whose most significant credit I found was he's in The Amazing Spider-Man as one of the doctors who worked with
Who's he
Peter
in this?
Parker's Larry. one of the rednecks.
No, I don't remember.
We've got Branscombe Richmond as Harlow Winnemucca, who's the Native American guy.
Oh, yeah, the guy on the horse, yeah.
Yeah, who is in Star Trek 3.
Right.
He's a random Klingon in Star Trek 3. He's a clown in Batman Returns.
Okay.
He's a henchman in The Scorpion King, A-Team, and Knight Rider.
A henchman.
Yeah, and I was like...
It's the same henchman? He's
yeah, he's just getting different gigs. But I was like, he's probably like... just like he's good at that role, so they're like, yeah, let's.
And with Scorpion King as well, he might be good on horseback because we see him riding this. Yeah, so maybe they were like people who live in the California area, horseback riders.
Yeah,
and he was like, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah,
and then the best known person who's in a total of 3 episodes.
Really? Okay, yeah. And this would be the introduction, I imagine.
Yeah, although I've got a fun bit of trivia about that. That I hopefully have written down for the end.
We can look it up if need be.
No, I haven't. I'll mention it now.
Yeah.
So it's Christopher Lloyd.
It's Christopher Lloyd.
As Cletus Poffenberger.
Wow. That's a good name.
Yeah. Back to the Future. People know him as One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He's also in Star Trek 3 as a Klingon.
He's
Addams Family. Clue is Christopher Lloyd.
He's very erratic in this.
He's mad scientist. Isn't he?
It's very similar, but somehow much worse. I would say. Yes. What's the?
When this series was originally shown, the episodes were shown out of order.
How weird. Okay.
Yeah. So this episode that we saw was episode 8, but it was shown as the season finale.
Oh, so he'd already been in it.
And they had to re-edit. So when episode 2 came out, which was meant to be was actually like episode 10.
Yeah.
He's in that. And to introduce him as a character, they put in a flashback scene of clips of this episode so that people knew who the character was.
Right.
Instead of just, releasing the episodes in order.
There must have been some reasoning there.
I think what it was is they were concerned about the popularity and ratings. So they picked some standout episodes to put at the start.
Okay.
And
this was a standout episode?
No, this wasn't.
Oh, good. Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, this is the finale. Yes, I see.
Yeah.
And it's not very worm heavy, is it?
No. So they probably put some worm heavy episodes at the start.
Yeah.
And one of them, had Christopher Lloyd in, but they had to be like, oh shit, everyone's talking to him as they know him.
But this episode is a flashback as well.
Yeah.
It's very confusing. I think we'll get into it pretty shortly.
So I've got lastly the IMDb rating for the series in total and this episode.
Yes. This episode will be low compared to the series. I'm going to say this episode is 5 and the series is... No, this episode's 4 and the series is 5.
Interesting. So the series is 6.5.
Yeah, that was my first.
So a bit higher. So not actually far from Lazarus.
Wow.
And this episode was a 7.0.
Fuck that. Honestly. Wow.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
I reckon it's
I'm almost done talking about it already, to be honest.
I think it's got a bit of like a cult following.
Yeah,
from,
I get
Tremors
that.
Fans.
And I get if you grew up on Back to the Future, like you saw them all in the cinema, I can see this adding an extra, because they do that, they bring in someone from a kind of cult horror sci-fi thing as a bit of a, like a good tidings or whatever, you know what I mean? Bit of good fortune to the fans of something. Yeah. You'll see people like, Linda Hamilton turning up in something. Bruce Campbell, yeah. But yeah, anything else before we delve into those?
No,
those holes.
Is that So we open with Larry. Actually, that's Larry Norval, the guy who's got the camcorder.
Oh, who we see? I've written him down as a weird guy chatting shit.
Yeah, it's Larry.
Yeah.
So yeah, the episode starts with him there's some guy working on a car engine. And
he's with this is the handsome guy.
Yeah. And he's He's talking about like a business he set up. Where
I don't know what he's talking. And I thought he basically is like, hey,
he's got an email newsletter.
I don't know. He's honestly just chatting shit. And he's like, he says something like, tell me about something about scientists and 412. And I was like, is this guy working on the car supposed to be a scientist? Because that is very early 2000s. Have like a handsome mechanic who's also a genius scientist, but no, he's like, tell me the story about Doc Brown coming to town.
Yeah, he's basically like, I want to get in the mind of a real mad scientist.
Right, that's
tell me about
is.
Doc Brown. Okay. And handsome man says he's not mad, he's different because you know all those years he was left alone with 412.
Right.
And then we get a flashback.
Yeah, and the whole episode.
Why did this need to be a flashback?
Well, I think maybe the whole series might be this guy interviewing him about stuff that's happened.
That's
really dumb because it's not.
Why?
Well, maybe it gets to the present half, like a little way through. But this is 8 out of what, 12?
Yeah.
Fuck knows. But
you could have just cut Larry out and just make
maybe
a series.
Was it 2 seasons? Did we find out?
I think it's just 1 season.
Just one. Oh well. So yeah, Doc Brown, who is Cletus, there's something about a shortage of cactus, and he's like trying to find some cactus.
He's quite manic, running around looking for like cactus buds or something.
Yeah, and we don't know what it's for, but it turns out
he wants to settle 412, and we don't know what that means.
Yeah.
He's called Cletus. Doc Cletus.
It does feel a little like a kind of sequel to Back to the Future 3 if he just stayed out in the desert for like 100 years.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those where like you don't name a character Cletus, and then unless you write them as like the Simpsons Cletus.
But he's not that.
Yeah, they wanted you to think, oh, he's a dumb redneck, and then so it'd be like, oh, twist, he's a scientist.
But it's not like.
But it's not actually that interesting.
And we know him as this famous scientist character actor.
Yeah.
So it's not really. Yeah, he's running around, but like this is what I mean. He's overacting it. It's too much.
He really is.
He's doing like all the Doc Brown stuff, but without like, I don't know.
Without the good writing.
Without the good writing and without like the charm, he just comes across as like weird.
Yeah.
And he's speaking to what we find out is 412 in the shed, like through the door of this kind of cabin shed thing. And he's like, hang on, I'm going to go get more cactus for you or something.
Yeah. And like, it sounds like there's like a rabid dog or something in there.
And it's really shaking around loads. And and then he cuts to him just like nailing the door shut. Which is quite a funny little kind of contrast there. And suddenly it kind of bursts out, whatever this thing is.
Yeah, and
we do
so we see it. How would you describe
Well, I've written down like a dog shark.
A dog shark.
And the thing is, we find out the supposed 3 things that make it out.
I can't remember. I've got it written down.
I've got them, but none of them are dogs or sharks.
No, see, I thought it was like I wrote down big CGI lizard thing.
Yes, it's scaly, as we see later, but none of the creatures that are involved have scales.
And it's kind of got like crocodile arms like out to the side rather than underneath.
Yeah, so it's like, squat, and it's got a weird little like mouth that opens
kind of like
the
Demogorgon in
Stranger
Things, but like just the bottom half and
just the bottom
and then got a big horn.
It's got a horn, and they say later the horn's between its eyes, like almost like a Pinocchio nose, like a beak.
Yeah.
It looks like absolute shit, honestly.
Oh, it is dreadful CGI.
The CGI it's so bad. It's not so bad it's good. It's not like it'll be on VFX artists react on YouTube. It's not like someone would go like, oh, why did this look bad? Oh, it's the lighting and stuff. It's like, no, it just looks like a pile of shit, basically.
Yeah,
it looks
and like
really
it's
bad.
just like really shitty computer anime. It kind of looks like it makes like you've got like some of those really shitty CGI bits in the Star Wars prequels.
Yes,
it kind of makes them look passable.
Yeah, I mean the budget would have been
nothing.
And that's one of the things that I think probably separates it from the Tremors films, where there was a lot of practical effects. I don't think there's one shot close up which could be a slight practical effect in this, but most of the time they either don't show the creatures or they show them looking like absolute dog shit.
Yeah.
And that's probably the thing that really messed it for me.
It just kind of like, it takes your immersion out immediately and just like, oh, fine. But yeah, the 412 then just runs away and Cletus kind of runs after it.
Yeah, and he's just like shouting really weird, like he's just saying loads of random shit. He's just like, blah, blah.
And then we get the intro.
I quite liked it. It was like going through the tunnels like a worm, like first person, and then it would pop out into like the character going like,
and it was in this town,
like
Perfection.
in Friends, where they're like, it's got the clips and their actors' names.
The classic like 90s sitcom style.
But you know, that's over very quickly. We see Hank from Breaking Bad there and we're like, hey, and then no.
Yeah, that's all we see of him.
And then Cletus is like passed out in the desert. He's been chasing this thing around.
Handsome Man finds him. Is it Handsome Man that finds him?
I can't remember. It might be Gunman Doug Bert. Oh yeah, because it's a bit later where someone's like Bert. And it sounds like old Homer Simpson when he's like, Bart. I think it might be. Yes, it is, because I've written that he's from Tremors, I think. So, yeah.
Right. And Cletus is kind of rambling. He's like, I was chasing a monster. And he's like, sure, chase him.
Yeah, and so we find out very shortly that, because I wasn't sure where this was set in the Tremors continuity.
Yeah.
This is in a thing where they're all well aware that there are worms there.
Yeah.
And they just live there still. And he actually invited the young hot woman to come and live there.
Yeah.
Despite there being this problem of different worms.
And other monsters.
Yeah, there's all sorts.
There's an ass blaster.
Ass blaster, yeah. Which I wrote down sounded like... All of them sounded like different types of sex toys when he listed them. The squealer was one of them as well.
But yeah, they gives Cletus some water and he's like, Cletus is like, I haven't seen you before. Been years since I've seen your wife.
Yeah. It turns out
Cletus is such a creep. And I don't know why.
He points up to like the ridge in the distance. He's like, yeah, when I get bored and I need human like contact, I just sit up there with my binoculars and watch you all in the town.
Yeah.
And there's another bit later where he's like really pervy, isn't he?
Yeah, but he introduced himself as Cletus Puffenberger, and yeah, it's Bert Gumry or Gummer.
Gummer, I think it might be.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, okay.
I think he basically says that the wife used to be hot or something, didn't he?
Yeah,
like,
is his wife dead?
I think she's
Did
either...
she get wormed?
Yeah, she got worms. Yeah. I don't know. Or she left. Maybe she wasn't in the series anymore and they were like, hey, you're gone. And
they like burst into a shop.
Oh yeah, and he just starts shouting.
He's like, there's a monster on the loose. Everyone's like, so
it's like, yeah. I didn't really realize why no one was reacting like that.
But he's like, it'll kill and maim. And they're like, he probably needs water. Woman says he needs a tea and a nap. And I'm like, yeah. And then he's like, I've always admired your garden.
Yeah, he just keeps saying...
other woman.
Yeah. And then we get a shot from the perspective of
so
the
like
monster.
A pig is being followed. And
it's just a weird phrase.
A pig is
being followed.
But like his eyesight is like a sniper.
It's like a crosshair.
Yeah.
But it's like moving all over the place. Like as if you're doing like a light gun game on arcade.
Yeah, which is really weird because
it's such a weird choice.
Surely 412, it would always be central. Like
it does. We find out later. I'm really not fussed about skipping around a bit because.
Also,
we find out it was engineered for combat, but that doesn't mean it needs a fucking... It's not shooting stuff.
Yeah.
There's literally distances on that crosshair.
Yeah. And how does that work?
Oh, you're 100 meters away from
Did they, like, tattoo its eyes?
I think it's just been, like, fully created, so it has, like, robot eyes.
And also, it's got 2 eyes.
Yeah. Maybe one eye is a crosshair and one isn't. It's also got X-ray vision, we find out later.
Yeah, which you don't see until they tell you.
Yeah, and he just goes like, yeah, because. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
The pig gets got.
Pig gets got, and then Doc Brown is...
And the blood dramatically sprays onto the town side.
There's a few... Oh, yeah, that's it, yeah. There's a few little kind of slightly bloodier moments, but it's pretty PG, like you said, isn't it? Yeah, Doc Brown's in a robe, and he's all clean. He's had a bath at the woman's house.
Yeah. She's like, how does it feel to be all cleaned up? And he's like, oh, I should be chasing the creature.
And there's some comment. This is when I realized that the worms were there all the time, because they say something like, she's like, oh, we normally have to survive every day from the worms, but this is something different. It's like, why the fuck are you living there? There's always worms around all the time. And this is when he says probably his weirdest line that I'm going to try and soundbite for the end of this. He goes...
Before that, sorry, there's a bit of... I want to get into that. There's a bit of dialogue in the build-up to that where he's like, what do I have to do to convince you? And she's like, maybe don't come in screaming about monsters. And he's like, I think it's like, she's like, it must be weird coming to meet strangers. And he's like, I had 412, best pal ever.
Oh, yeah, he keeps going on about his pal. Oh, yeah, no, that's the next bit. But he goes, she's complaining about the monster, and he's like, don't like excitement, eh?
Yeah.
Is that not the bit you were thinking
No, because he then...
Oh, when he's like flirting with her.
She's like, oh, she had a pipe dream of moving out, but then she couldn't. And then Cletus starts talking about her daughter, and then he's like, oh, like
he says he's helpless in the face of beauty.
And they're like, and she's like,
well, you were
oh, you could be like sisters. You're both beautiful.
And she's like, ooh. She's like very, very okay with him admitting to like perving on her and her daughter. And then they start bonding over like bands that she used to like roadie for, like tour
but
with.
Then and then she's like, and she's like, if you're gonna get everyone on board with what you're saying, you're gonna need evidence. And he's like, I've got evidence. Look at this scar.
Yeah, and just like
flashes her, and like it's like the classic like camera shot like on his shoulder where he's clearly opening up like his dressing gown, and we don't see him. And it's like this guy has gone in, talked about like perving, and then flashed this woman.
Yeah,
and she's like,
she goes,
cool.
She goes, oh yeah, I see it. I think it's supposed to be like a wow.
It's so weird.
It's very weird.
And like, I'm not sure like what they're doing with like the tone of this,
like what we're supposed to feel about that.
Like,
are we supposed to, because they don't have like the
it's not funny.
It's not funny, and they don't have any of those kind of, not the boing noises, but you know, like the kind of like a wow or something, because there are weird little sitcom flourishes to this. Like, there's a weird kind of banjo-y light music that plays towards the end. It's like everything's wrapping up, and it's like like almost like Seinfeld kind of shit. But there's a lot of scenes with what's he called? Christopher
Lloyd.
I was gonna say Walters. Christopher Walters.
What do you think, Christopher Walken?
Christopher Lloyd, where it's just, I think they just let him do stuff, and they didn't really know how it was supposed to be.
Like the Burt characters played so straight.
Yeah.
And then Christopher Lloyd is like a complete caricature.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know what this TV show is meant to be.
No, I don't think they knew, and I think that's probably why it didn't kind of carry on.
We then get a quick scene of a guy fixing a car, this woman's car, and they're like flirting, and I was like,
oh, is that? Yeah, I didn't write anything down for that bit there. Isn't that a bit? There's a bit later where maybe it comes back and forth. Who knows?
At this bit, actually, I think I was messaging you. Or
I've got the horse bit next. The horse guy is... Oh, no, sorry. Yeah. There is the horse guy, and then he goes off, and then she's like, are you going to fix my car or what? And he's like, Tyler Reed at your service. And then she basically says, oh, since I've moved to the town like 8 episodes ago, I've heard about all these women that you slept with. And he's like, only half of that's true. Like, I'm not a hoe. And then
they're fixing the car.
Yeah, and then they're like,
Joe, what happened? I was trying to upload my B-reel, and it was taking ages.
Yes, yeah. It takes a long time to take the photo. I don't really know what that's about.
It's a bit buggy.
And then he's like, oh, do you want me to drive off with you to test it? And she's like, okay. And then we get the horse guy. He's being targeted. He gets chased.
Yeah, and the horse runs. We get like 412 chasing it, and it's just kind of like.
But he jumps up.
Yeah.
And he jumps to a tree, and his legs are literally about half a foot off the ground.
Yeah.
But why?
The 412 goes after the horse.
But why? Because he would have.
I think it's so. 412's got a different target.
Yeah. But if he jumps off, he's just as much in danger as if he'd been.
I guess because he thought he was high enough.
Yeah.
But here, did you notice the sound 412 made when it attacked the horse? Because it was ripped straight from a certain film.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
It is the exact sound that you hear when the meat is dropped into the Velociraptor cage in Jurassic Park.
Okay.
And I looked up some trivia.
Yeah.
Which I might as well mention now.
Yeah.
And it says all the sounds for 412 were taken from the Velociraptors in Jurassic Park.
Right, okay, yeah.
Because there's later on he makes different sounds, and it's different Velociraptor sounds from Jurassic Park.
Okay. So I guess they're on the same like studio or some sort of copyright thing.
Yeah, I think, but do you remember we had this conversation before about there was an episode of Star Wars Rebels where one guy got hit and he made the sound of Velociraptor from Jurassic Park, and I looked it up and I was like, it is the same word. I think Velociraptor sounds are just like free reign.
Wow. We start putting them in the episode.
Yeah. that'll be a spooky
I'll replace the carefully crafted Projoctober theme with just a cacophony of raptor sounds.
But yeah, I was like, okay, cool. And then obviously I noticed it straight away, and then every time I was like, yep, that's a raptor.
Did that make you feel kind of more or less invested?
It's kind of weird because like 412 is actually at some points at first I was like, that's weird, I wouldn't imagine this like lizard thing making the same noises as a velociraptor. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought actually 412 is quite like a velociraptor.
Yeah,
like they mention it super quick. They've got like he's got a spiky thing that he kills with.
Yeah, the mixed DNA
the
as
mixed
well.
DNA. And I was like, actually
yeah, I'm looking it up here quickly, and it doesn't specifically say whether, but it does mention here that in a couple other things there's been Jurassic Park roars used.
It's mentioned in the IMDb trivia.
Yeah, I was just wondering if it was kind of somehow out of copyright or something.
Oh, right, yeah.
But yeah, it's Universal do own it, but whether they make claims on things or not is kind of what someone's asking here.
But yeah,
maybe we could try it. See if Universal take our episodes out.
God, imagine if the podcast got shut down because we just went.
See, there's one there. Universal, get him.
Oh no. Anyway.
Yeah. So then suddenly everyone's just there, the dead horse.
Yeah, Bert gets called over to the horse.
But the hot girl and the hot guy are both there as well.
Yeah, and the girl's like, do you reckon it's the ass blasters or the squealers or there's a third one as well?
There is a third one. I've written down that there were 3 types, yeah.
And Bert's like, nope, it's not them.
They say it was like gored by a horn, and this is where you find out it had the horn between its eyes.
The guy describes it as a low-slung rhino the size of a dog.
And it is part rhino, so he's checked one off there.
He's a smart man.
There's a point where I can't remember who it is. I think it's the guy who was on the horse. He's like, weird science, Bert, that's all I can say.
Yeah, and they're like, I'm going to go talk to Cletus. And the woman's like, But you said that there was only 3 threats here. Those the worms.
Yeah, this is what I'm thinking. So he's like she's like his like niece or something.
Yeah, and then Bert just kind of walks away, and it's like okay.
But it's not 3 individual monsters. It's 3
types,
3 breeds of monsters.
Yeah,
3 species.
It's quite weird.
Yeah.
Then Cletus is with the woman. And he's got a different shirt on now.
Yeah, and she's watching like Jerry Springer or something on her laptop, like some sort of like.
She's on her laptop.
Yeah.
I don't think Jerry Springer's a bit late. Oh no,
that is this bit. But
first, Jerry Springer's on the TV and she's sitting on her laptop.
Oh, I thought she was watching.
And he comes in and he goes, "Huh, They miniaturized him, eh?
And she's like, surely you've seen this before. And he's like, yeah, but like not like this kind of thing. And it's like, oh, he's not been round
And
technology.
then she starts explaining the Jerry Springer episode, and he's like, how do you know that? And she's like, oh, it's a rerun. And I was like, cool.
It's about their two women fighting their cousins and the guy they were sleeping with is their cousin or something.
And he's like, oh, TV has changed.
Yeah.
It's all kind of just been like, he's been locked away. He's been away for
And then
years.
Bert just turns up and comes in and she's like, oh, make yourself at home. And he tells them that there's this other monster. And she's like, another monster? Oh, no. And it's like, the tone is so strange in this, isn't it? It feels like it's supposed to be a joke, but it just comes across as like, they're as tired of the show as we are at this point.
Yeah, and there's a weird bit here where Cletus is like, oh no, did 412 hurt somebody? And Bert's like, yeah, a horse. And he's like, oh no, let me see if I can help. And Bert's like, well, I just declared open season on it. And it was like, okay.
And like you say, he's so like straight laced, but he's got like all his like combat vest with like pouches.
Yeah.
He's got like loads of guns and mags on him and like his like shooting glasses and everything. It just, I know that's kind of the character pulled over from the films, but it's just,
it's a little silly.
It's very silly. They go out on a little adventure, Cletus and Bert.
Yeah.
And Cletus is telling Bert that they need to find this blue cactus because it gives serotonin to 412.
Yes.
And without it, that's the reason that he's gone like loopy, basically.
And he wouldn't. He was like, you won't need that gun if we found this cactus.
Yeah. But I think Bert's like, it's got less and less each year for the last 20 years. So it is a known thing that like this type of cactus
and
is
as he's talking about the serotonin and the melatonin stuff.
Yeah.
Bert's like, you don't sound like a desert rat.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I was a biochemist. And starts talking about there was a secret lab hidden in the mountains. And Bert's like, nope, if there was a lab, I would have known about it.
Yeah, and then he's like, right, and then it cuts to them at this other place, and he kind of moves some dust out of the way.
Cletus is like, stop the car, turn here. Yeah, and they find like a road.
It's
hidden.
a road under the dust. And then he mentions that it was the Proudfoot Corporation, which seems to be something that Bert knows about, and they talk about at the end. I don't know if that's to do with the Tremors things or
maybe.
I think the Tremors they're called graboids, the Tremors, which is so
the worms.
Yeah, which is just such a strange. I guess because they grab you, but it's a very silly name.
Do you remember? Did you ever play Tangent? Right. I think it was like a game on like Mini Clip or something where you played a giant worm.
Yes,
and you'd go down and you'd like jump up and eat, and then you'd like dig.
I've got I own a version on the App Store. Yeah, there's a
that's a bloody
it was
fun
called
little
like
game.
Mega Worm or something like that.
I think there was like a ton of variations.
You could kind of jump up and
yeah.
See, that was good fun.
That was good fun.
Proudfoot,
and Bert kind of gets off in a huff, and Cletus is like, "Oh, I didn't mean to get you worked up." And he's like, "Well, you did," and storms off.
He's such a like grumpy old man.
He's a man child.
And then we cut back to the shop, which seems to be kind of a central location there.
Yeah.
And the main guy is the handsome guy. I've called him main guy. The handsome guy is. He says some really weird thing to the shopkeeper.
He helps her put her clothes up, and then he says, "You're no bigger than a ham biscuit."
I wrote ham biscuit. I thought I'd misheard that. And she's like, "What does that mean?" And he's like, "It means you're petite." And it's like,
it's a bit weird. And then a guy on a Harley Davidson.
Yeah, because he's a mechanic, so he's like, I could hear that.
He says, most distinctive sound in the industry.
He says something like they should copyright that sound.
And the guy comes in, he's like, it's a nice bike. And the guy comes in, just smashes the door in. He's like, I need a beer.
Yeah. It's very obvious, like, they brought in a dickhead so he can die.
Yeah, and then they're like looking at me like, what the hell are you looking at? He goes over to the fridge and just downs the beer. And then he just like looks at them, gives them a look, and it's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, it doesn't really make any sense. But we cut back to the other two old men, and they're talking about Proudfoot.
Cletus explains that like each like scientists had their own little project.
Yes.
And his was 412. He doesn't know what the others were.
No. He snuck it out in his bag when it was a pup.
Yeah, the government shut down because Proudfoot was kind of going too far.
I think they were selling stuff out the back door.
Yeah.
And then he says about it being his pal again.
Yeah.
Oh, and
he was like, it was just a pup when he got it.
And Bert says So Bert talks about so there seems to be one worm that's reoccurring in this. And Bert's like, oh, he's not my pal, he's my adversary, like a worthy adversary. And he keeps making comparisons with like Moby Dick.
So Cletus, the thing,
like,
it's like, oh, he's your adversary, but it sounds like you're like Ahab, and this is your white whale.
But he says it back and forth a few times. I don't know if he makes different kind of similes or whatever, but he's basically saying like you're obsessed with this worm kind of thing, which he is, because he's constantly walking around with a rifle and like body armor.
I was like, he sounds like he's right here, to be honest.
And also, Cletus is like, I had to leave my apartment and come move out here. And Bert's like, being staked out, man's worst nightmare.
Yeah, and Cletus is like, you spent your entire life fearing the government were watching you. I spent my entire life knowing they were.
Yeah.
And I was like, part of me was like, in something better, that could have been a good line.
Yeah, like there's something to that. And they talk a little bit later about the creation of it and stuff. And I think that would be a more interesting show. You know, the Proud
it's stuff. Almost like like Stranger Things stuff.
Yeah.
They're almost kind of,
the timelines are similar as well, because they talk about Vietnam, so it would have been a similar kind of time. Yeah, I mean, it's what we talk about a lot, isn't it? The dodgy eras of the early to mid CIA.
Oh yeah, the CIA,
which is why.
Look, if listeners want to know why we've got a certain opinion on the CIA, just go back and listen to some of our reports. And the CIA are fucking nuts.
Yeah, I was gonna do another one for Projoctober, but I've gone in a slightly different direction.
Okay, cool.
There's a little tease there. Nancy apparently is being chased.
I've written Nancy's running.
Who's Nancy?
One of the women.
One of the women's run. Oh, it's the one who was giving him a bath. She like runs out of her house and she's like, "It's here!"
Okay. The guy with a cap, the handsome man
tries to shoot it,
and then 412 is there, and he's shooting it, and it doesn't do anything.
And the biker pushes in front and starts doing like fisticuffs in the air.
Yeah,
and then he sees that it's a monster and starts running away.
And then 412 makes a distinctive noise that you may have heard 10 years before in a Jurassic Park film.
You know, I didn't even notice at all, to be honest.
I really like Jurassic Park.
You're keyed in to recognise Jurassic Park sounds.
But yeah, the biker like jumps into like a wooden box.
Yeah, it's just a way of making it so they don't have to
show that
him.
Somebody gets killed.
But also so we don't have to see him get like mauled.
Yeah, and 412
jumps in the box after him and impales him to death.
And the others like jump in a truck and drive off.
And we get this awful, awful music. Honestly, it was like banjo mixed with like kind of dance music. It was just,
I don't think I noticed.
It was disgusting. And this is when I think he's on the phone. Handsome man's on the phone to Bert, and he's like, Bert. And my note here says that it's quite boring. And despite this, it's always a bad sign when the action climax of a show is also the most boring part of it.
Yeah, so the 412 is going to run after the truck, and Bert and Cletus, they're looking at the biker.
Yeah, they're tracking they're looking at a map as well, aren't they?
Come back and tell Rosalita we're at war.
Right.
It's like, okay. Yeah, this is really shit.
It's really, really not good.
Right, let's power through.
Let's power through. We're at an hour now.
We've now got 5 people in the truck.
Yeah.
They're plotting like the murders or stuff that 412's done on the map.
It's in a grid pattern, so it's going back and forth.
And yeah, Cletus says it was his job to breed 412 for combat.
Yes, and this is where we find out the 3 things that made it up.
Yes. Well, they say that Proudfoot were one of the few organizations that hadn't given up on Vietnam yet.
Yeah.
And 412 was being designed to take out the Viet Cong.
Yeah, they're going to put it in foxholes and flush them out.
But yeah, the combination
of I lost my note there. Rhino, Spider, and Wolverine.
Yeah.
Now, 2 of those kind of make sense. Wolverines are kind of short, stocky, and aggressive.
Yeah.
Rhinos have a horn. Spider? Yeah. It's a particular type of spider, but I didn't write. It's some sort of venomous spider.
I mean, a spider's a spider, isn't it?
They didn't give it multiple legs. They didn't give it any kind of noticeable venom.
Yeah, it couldn't shoot a web.
It doesn't have.
Has it got 8 eyes?
No.
Do they have 8 eyes? Or...
Yeah, 8 eyes and 8 legs. Yeah, not always 8 eyes.
It doesn't climb up things.
It's a strange. I feel like they were gonna put a venom style thing in there, but
yeah, and why just replace it with like a lizard?
Yeah, because it is scaly.
It looks like a lizard.
It's scaly. Yeah.
It hasn't got the texture of a Wolverine or a Rhino.
And they, Christopher Lloyd says that the gene splicing thing was called Mixmaster.
Yeah.
Which I think is a bit of a joke because that's like a DJ kind of thing, like Mixmaster General.
Yeah. Then the rest of the people turn up.
Yeah.
And they're like, "What's wrong with you, Bert? You haven't moved the body." And Bert's like, "Right, men, come in with me. We're going to make a plan. Women, move the body." And it's like, no, okay.
And Doc Brown talks to Rosalita.
And he's like, "You're even better looking up close. I've admired you from afar. You ought to wear some more clothes out in the sun."
Yeah, so she's been, I think we said when you're sunbathing. So she's been like in a skimpy bikini and he's been like watching her and enjoying himself.
Who knows what else?
Sounds of things. Yeah, and there's a funny bit where they're looking at the map and they're like, "I've plotted the movement, and according to my calculations," and then they're like, "It's coming back."
Yeah,
but with enough time that they spend about a minute
kind of
loading
see
their
it
guns.
up on the ridge. They're just like, "Huh." Yeah. So they everyone gets into the house, and Clint's like, "We're not safe."
Yeah.
And as the camera moves to Bert, he puts his sunglasses on in sync with the camera.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. The camera kind of comes from like a crane above him, and he puts his sunglasses on like in time with it. It's like, quite a cool shot.
The front of the sunglasses are like always facing the camera.
Yeah.
The camera kind of comes down as he puts. It's really silly.
It's actually quite a good shot though. Like it reminds me of like almost that shot should have been in the intro.
Yeah,
like in the opening credits, like that. It feels like. Yeah, it feels like one of the CSI Miami, like, sunglasses on moments. Yeah.
And then 412 comes towards him and then turns and goes into the shop instead.
Yeah.
Some people run out. And Cletus is like, "Oh, it can see through walls."
Yeah, well, they're all like in cover against the wall and then it smashes out through. But like all of these times, it's just like bashing past them and then carrying on.
Yeah, and they're like, "Quickly get to the shelter. It's made of metal. It'll be a bit hard." And as they're running over, they're like, "Oh, everybody freeze and stop." And we see like the sand moving. I was like, "Oh yeah, they've got." I forgot they've got to have at least one moment with the worm because this is Tremors.
Yeah. So so I think the creature follows a car drive off. So some of them drive away. I think the women and a couple of the people drive off. But then it comes back. So they can see it coming. So they're like, "It's coming back." And it's coming back. And then from a kind of opposite kind of bit,
they kind of
coming in a V shape towards each other. Kind of
and they're freezing. So like 412's coming, but we can't move because the worm.
That's it, yeah.
And it lines up perfectly. And the worm comes up and eats 412 perfectly.
And the worm
and I was like,
also looks like shit.
This worm is so much smaller than I thought it was going to be.
It's quite. That's a kind of medium size to large one of these.
Really?
So they're not that big. But the difference is there's more of them. So it's more like sharks.
Yeah.
They're like land sharks more than anything.
Yeah, okay.
But and the worm looks like shit. Then it it then resurfaces and kind of vomits it out.
Yeah, and actually 412 like shakes off like a bunch of like saliva or something.
Saliva, yeah.
I don't know if it's here, but yeah.
He goes through like why it spat it up.
Cletus says that 412 like excretes acid.
He said it's a mixture.
Is that the spider
No,
thing?
because he says it's a mixture of skunk something and like something urine as well. So there's more than the 3 animals in there. I don't know why they felt the need to mention spider.
Yeah.
They should have said skunk, but then it would have spoiled that reveal.
Yeah.
That's the
El Blanco. It's funny.
Who the fuck is that?
That's what what's his name? Bert names the main worm.
Oh, right.
He's like, no way, is that El Blanco? And it's funny he calls him El Blanco.
Is that the white,
like
the white whale.
Yeah, right. So Cletus has already made that comparison.
So he's almost done that intent, but it is white as well. I think the rest of them aren't.
So
white.
It literally is a white whale.
It is literally a white whale that he'll chase for this whole series.
God, fucking hell.
Yeah, it's not creative at all. This is when he admits in the metal shed that it has X-ray vision.
Yeah, because they were like, "What were you shouting about before?" And he's like Superman.
Yeah, and then he's like, "There's nothing wrong with stealing a good idea from a comic book."
Yeah,
that's not the point. It's how did you give it X-ray vision?
Yeah, and it's also like, you think the writers, you think that if you like have one of the characters say what you've done,
it's very much that
it lets you off the hook. No, it fucking doesn't. Like fuck off.
It's bad. It's really bad. And they move on very quickly and start trying to find.
They're like, how are we gonna fight? We've got no guns. But it's like, we got all the weapons we need right here.
And there's just loads of like shit in there, junk.
Find anything could be lethal.
They basically make a flamethrower really quickly.
Yeah. 412 is circling the building.
And Christopher Lloyd calls 412 his baby boy. So he's not just his pal, he's also his son as well.
Yeah, 412 makes another distinctive raptor noise here.
Right, yeah. Is this when he tries to talk to her out the window?
No, so yeah, then he
like,
goes to the
let
window.
Me try and talk it down.
And 412 like looks at it. You can see from the sniper vision.
Yeah. And we get views of it. We can see that it is scaly like we thought it was.
Yeah. And 412 is like, oh, fuck this cunt. And just charges through the wall. Yeah. They shoot fire at it.
And so they've made what looks like a perfect flamethrower in every way. From like an engine, like a motor.
Yeah.
No, like a generator, sorry, and a bit of pipe.
Yeah.
And it's turned into just like one that you'd buy from like
it's
a garden
very
shop.
like MacGyver.
Yes, it is. Like that.
But then Bert's like, not in my valley, you don't. And flamethrowers.
I think it was trying to run away. What was it doing?
They first shot
what was
fire
it doing that he didn't want it to do in his valley? Survive?
Eat people?
Yeah, but it wasn't doing it then, you know? It's normally when someone's like, I'm gonna kill you. Not in my valley, you don't.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know. I think you just said it.
And then Cletus is very, very sad.
Well, yeah, they've literally burnt 412 to death, and you see it kind of like burning and shrivel
into like
a wet husk.
Wet husk, I would say.
Potentially.
Yeah. Probably quite dry, actually.
A dry husk.
Yum.
Like a raisin.
Like a dry raisin.
A dry raisin.
Doesn't really work, does it? Yeah, then we get the grave.
Bert's like, Cletus, I'm sorry, we didn't really have a choice. And Cletus is crying.
But it's awful acting. He just looks like, it's just not good.
Yeah, he's made 412 a gravestone in the town.
Yeah. And then
by the woman's house.
The woman who was kind of taking him in / flirting with him
has now got the grave of a monster in her garden.
And she comes out to see him and she goes, Cletus, it's time to go.
Yeah, and
she can't act at all.
No, but Cletus also leaves a bit of cactus at the
So
gravestone.
he had some the whole time. What's this all about?
I guess he found some between the death and the funeral.
Honestly. It's terrible.
He's like, I'll never forget you, little guy.
Yeah.
And he's getting a lift with the woman. He says bye to Bert, and Bert's like, is there any other pets? And he's like, well, there's a lot going on. I don't know.
I think they say, we'll find out.
Yeah, and then Bert goes back to the uncovered road.
Yes.
And he's got like a compass and he points there and he's like, okay. And then just walks.
I think he finds out which direction it's going in and then he sets his compass to that.
Yeah.
But use a car. You don't know how far.
And also, like, it's been proven, I think they even did it on Mythbusters, that like if you just walk, you will go in like a circle.
But with a compass, you can.
But he closes the compass and puts it in his pocket.
Okay, but you can set. Yeah, okay. We should. You can set the little thing up to a point and then walk in that direction, kind of thing. Yeah. But he should use a car as well. And then we go back to the present. That guy you mentioned is like finishing asking about. But they've switched the camera around, and the guy asking the questions is now on camera, and the guy telling the story is not on camera.
But handsome guy says Bert's been searching for that lab ever since.
Right. So
the lab what we knew the government hid in a mountain and then destroyed. That you know, very easy to find thing that is.
Yeah. Also, it's probably not that far from the end of that road. There was a hill just there.
Yeah.
Why? Also, Cletus would know where it is. Just ask him in the 2 more episodes he's in.
And what's going to be there when you find it?
Maybe some like data.
It's the government destroyed that building.
Maybe there's like a worm there that opens a portal or something. But yeah, that was quite shit, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I've got one other bit of trivia.
Yeah, go for it.
Which, yeah, okay. This you're gonna find disappointing,
right? Okay.
And it highlights the budget more than anything else.
Yeah.
Tippett Studios, who did the CGI effects, also worked on part of Tremors 2.
Okay.
But more notably, worked on Jurassic Park.
Really?
Yeah.
So that might explain a bit of the connection there, potentially. They might have known somebody who...
Yeah, I forgot about that. But, like, yeah, so, like, they're clearly not terrible at their jobs.
No, no.
Like, Jurassic Park's pretty
does feel
solid.
Like a lot of that would have been budget because...
Yeah.
You can... Even now... You know, if you're squeezed budget and time wise, you're never going to get the same results.
No, some people kind of thrown that criticism at Marvel when they're churning out these series.
Yeah,
there's the odd bit that looks a bit wonky.
Even some of the films they've gone back and the Disney Plus releases and edit stuff. Yeah. But yeah, that's there. I'm not individually criticizing that anybody worked on that, but nobody would look at that and say it looks good by any stretch.
No,
it's the creature design is bad as well.
Creature designs, it's like unoriginal as well.
It looks like when people get a kid's drawing and then like 3Dify
Yeah, it does.
The fact it's got the wide the eyes almost like this is what it looks like, a shark. Like a small shark that's scaly, and it's got a spike in front of its head, and then no tail and legs.
Yeah,
it just looked like shit.
It really did.
The rest of it was not much better, I would say.
No, like the acting's bad, the writing's bad, the plot isn't interesting.
No, the allusions to this secret stuff was the most interesting part for me.
Yeah.
And even that wasn't very original. It was just like a bit of Jurassic Park mixed with, a handful of other sci-fi things.
It's like, oh, monsters created in a secret lab. Nobody's done that before.
Yeah, it just wasn't.
Yeah.
What
a fantastic start to Projoctober.
Well,
the only way is up.
You know what they say, yeah. You start not as you mean to proceed, but at the lowest possible rung, so that everything looks better in comparison. This was a palate cleanser. Post Lazarus Project. It's back to our roots of terrible, schlocky B movie.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember
shows.
What exactly we were planning on doing next week. So I remember we had a very preliminary.
We've got a very
schedule.
loose plan, which may have moved around. I think certain bits will have to be shifted, which is why we haven't kind of announced the the running order. Yeah.
So the next week one was the thing that I need to sort out.
Yes.
There's
I think 3 out of the 4 remaining things require a bit of work on our parts.
Yeah.
So we might have to knuckle down.
But that I can do this weekend.
Okay, cool. Yeah, if we can stick with that, that would be good. And that will be better than this.
Yeah. Yeah, it will
Not
be.
just because you're doing the preparation, but just from what you've told me,
it is better than this.
Should we just go straight to ratings? I don't think we need to spend much more time on
no,
this.
I really wanted to talk about the
right, I'll leave you to it then. I'll be back in a moment.
Yeah, I'm intrigued about this philosophical questions raised about a man running away with a monster he built in a lab to bring up as his own pet, because all life deserves to live, and 412
is that something like? Am I thinking of Frankenstein? No. He doesn't run away with his pet, does he? He goes off on his own. It's very derivative.
Yeah, every life deserves, a chance. And 412 is the only one of his kind.
I wish it was called 420 instead. I would have enjoyed it more. It's just been funny.
It would have
420 is my pal, my buddy, my pal.
They could have done loads of innuendo jokes.
Yeah. Or even 419, he's one off. He's like, you should have seen the one that came after.
Yeah, but yeah, there's got to be lots of things where people run off with a monster.
It felt just short of being enjoyable, I would say.
Yeah,
this whole thing.
Yeah. Fortunately, it wasn't long.
Yeah. Well, it was 40 minutes.
Yeah, it was. Wasn't it?
It was too long, really.
Yeah. Fuck it. Let's do ratings.
I'm gonna swing in with a 3.
I
haven't thought it through. That's my gut instinct. I was gonna go 4, but I didn't really enjoy it at all, to be honest. I thought you were gonna show me something on your phone then.
No,
it's just gonna be the number 2.
No, that'd be really, really bad for the audio medium that we released this in.
So, what are you thinking?
I am going. Maybe a 2.
Yeah.
I can't really think of any redeeming qualities.
I thought some of the jokes were kind of funny, but that's pretty much the only I thought I was gonna either Christopher Lloyd or if Hank had turned up, his performance.
Yeah.
I really didn't enjoy Christopher Lloyd. I thought he was really
it was just a bit annoying.
He was annoying, he was pervy, but not in a funny way.
No.
It was quite great.
And it wasn't even this hasn't aged well sort of thing.
No,
it was
he should have been an out of time, out of context, old fashioned person.
Yeah, he wasn't.
He's just a prick.
Yeah, he was. I'm giving it a 2.
Yeah,
giving it a 2.
That's it.
Fuck you,
3.
Tremors.
So we've gone from 6, 7s, and 8s with Lazarus to 2s and 3s.
Yeah.
Woo!
Which means we can move on.
Yes.
So it's time for
Personal Projects.
It's personal.
Projects.
So, Sam, I'm not going to do the whole other shit. Have you watched anything?
Well, the only thing I watched is Beverly Hills Cop, and it was pretty good. I would recommend it. It's pretty fun. So that's it.
Okay. So I'll breeze over. There's a couple of things I watched. One thing I do want to talk about, but I watched the new-ish, the latest Planet of the Apes trilogy over the weekend.
Okay.
Rise, Dawn, and War.
Yeah.
That's still really good.
Yeah.
They are really good. I thoroughly enjoy those films.
Yeah.
And then after I finished maybe last night.
Yeah.
I then watched the original Planet of the Apes film.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I don't know if I've seen it in full. I've definitely seen bits of it before.
It's good fun. It's also it's a bit dumb, but it's good fun. It's a classic. But I also the big twist at the end.
Yes.
It's literally in the last minute you see the statue.
Yeah.
So the last bit is him riding a horse down the beach, and then it zooms out and you see the Statue of Liberty. I was watching it, and then my laptop crashed with literally 2 minutes to go. And like just as you start seeing like the torch,
yeah.
I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" I eventually just went on YouTube and like Planet of the Apes ending.
Yeah.
And it's literally 2 minutes and just sat there. I was like, right, now I can go to bed. It's like you can't just, particularly that film, you can't just turn it off about sitting. I was like, and then he's
no, you blew it up or whatever. Yeah.
I was like, okay. But you know, it's good fun.
Yeah.
But I did watch at the weekend,
Okay.
more notably, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, you did? Okay, nice. Yeah.
What a fucking incredibly good film.
What a good film. Yeah.
Like, might be the best thing that's come out this year.
Yeah. I've actually remembered something I watched, but yes.
Like, it's so surreal, but at the same time is really funny. And then it's been a long time since a film made me laugh and made me cry as much as that did.
It's got a very grounded kind of emotional heart to it.
Yeah, whilst also having a fight with like two guys with like things shoved up their arse.
Yes, yeah.
Like,
and the bum bag scene is great when he puts like, what does he put, like rocks in it or something? And he's like swinging his bag around. Yeah,
the action short round is really good. And then like that's the bit where it's just the rocks talking.
Yeah.
And it's like quite emotional. And you're just like, what the fuck is this film? It's absolutely wild.
It's wild, yeah.
But it's really, really good. I'm gonna have to rewatch it.
I'm gonna have to rewatch it. I don't remember a lot of it. It's a bit of a blur, but yeah.
It is unbelievably good.
I think the directors also did Swiss Army Man, which I haven't seen. Yeah, I'm gonna watch that soon.
I saw an interview of him, and he was saying a lot of it is, you know, the mother-child relationship and dealing with what you. And he was like, for years I've been the guy that made the film about the farting corpse, and that's kind of been my child, and having to like deal with the fact that I'm the guy that created that, and that's what I'm known as. And he was like, I put some of that into this. I was like, that's quite fun. I also saw that when he originally wrote it, it was originally about a guy who had ADHD that was so severe that he could break into like other timelines and worlds and stuff.
Interesting.
And then he started reading about like undiagnosed ADHD and discovered that he had undiagnosed ADHD. And then like obviously changed the plot and stuff and decided to have a woman as the lead.
Yeah.
But it's really good.
Really good cast. Michelle Yeoh. Got, Jamie Lee Curtis makes a good appearance as well.
When he gets to like the hot dog fingers,
it's
great. And then she starts playing the piano.
He keeps coming back to that, and you're just like, wow, yeah, because that whole thing is the ability to use your feet for more stuff, isn't it? Because in that world they all use
and, like,
their
everything. Everything has got meaning. All this silly stuff has got like the everything is a bagel.
Yeah.
And then that's like an inverse of the googly eyes that then like play a significant point towards the end. It's like you fight the bagel with the googly eyes essentially. And I saw one, I read the discussion, Reddit, and I saw somebody say, finally somebody has realized that if you have a everything bagel, then it's like a horrific nightmare.
It's got everything on it. Yeah.
But yeah, the action stuff is brilliant.
Yeah.
It's just something else. It really is. I think it's the best thing I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I would definitely agree there. Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. Well, I think that. I think maybe I'll do Swiss Army Man and then come back to that afterwards. But
I never finished Swiss Army. I watched the first like half an hour and then had to do something.
Yeah, I'm quite keen to watch it. I don't know if it's on any streaming. I haven't seen it pop up anywhere. I probably would have watched it. But the thing that I've remembered, which is something that you've seen, I watched The Northman.
Oh no! Yeah. Oh, that was this year.
So that's what I was thinking. That's what you were like. It's one of the best things I've seen this year. I was like, I know that you enjoyed Northman as well. So yeah,
that was really good.
I do wish I'd seen it in the cinema. I think some of the kind of, I say scale, it's still quite small. I thought it was going to be a more. It's been dubbed as a historical epic, and compared to his other films, it is. But it's also quite small scale in that it's this kind of remote community. And
the cinematography is fantastic.
I really like, coming off the back of Lighthouse, he's incorporated a lot of almost black and white scenes. So lots of the nighttime stuff is just moonlit. And then there's the occasional bit of color with like a torch or something. It's, visually incredible. And yeah, it was pretty much what I expected, but also I had no idea where it was going.
Yeah, it does. It's one of those that just kind of keeps on going.
Yes.
And you're just like, fuck, yeah.
Yeah, I did really enjoy it. And just lots of kind of surreal, trippy kind of stuff in it that you'd expect from Robert Eggers.
Yeah, no, yeah, Northman. No, that was really good. I should rewatch that.
Yeah, it was when I was making my little list of best of the year so far kind of thing. It was like that wasn't on it yet because I hadn't watched it yet. And I was like, that's definitely up there.
Yeah, no, the Northman.
Yeah,
great film.
Yeah,
the whole like the climax where it's just like two like naked guys fighting in a volcano.
Yeah.
You're just like, this is fucking great. Like,
yeah, and it's just Alexander Skarsgård's very good in it. Yeah, he's just like full of rage.
Yeah,
but yeah, reminds me almost of like I don't know, like kind of like a Ryan Gosling like Drive kind of character when he's just like kind of mad.
So like tunnel vision.
Yeah.
No.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I thought it was very good. So.
I'm glad. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look through like what I've actually watched this year and have a think about what's actually stood out. But
it's nice coming back to it afterwards. I think there's something for coming back to a film like half a week later and seeing what kind of stood out to you.
Yeah.
And then even months later looking back at the year so far and being like, yeah, a lot of the stuff I enjoyed was just fine.
Yeah, it's a bit like I really enjoyed that, but then I didn't think about it a month later.
No.
Yeah. Nice.
Cool. So on to our continuous things. I think, do you want to do Andor at the end and kind of get the...
Sure.
We can kind of breeze a little bit more through the other things there.
So power rings.
I've barely written anything.
I'm Joe. What? I'm really starting to enjoy this series. Like,
really?
I know it's not doing much, but I'm just like, you know what? I like this. I really do. Like
quite a boring episode, personally.
Yeah, like not much is happening, but it's keeping me hooked, and my eyes are glued to the screen.
Yeah.
I think one thing that stood out to me in this episode, which I was like, this is good, is that like there's two scenes in particular where it's like characters acting rationally and doing and like a whole part of like the Tolkien Lord of the Rings stuff is like relationships between guys actually being like loving and caring and not
right.
So there's the scene where Joran and Elrond is talking and Elrond's just kind of up front being like, hey, this is it, and like instead of it creating this fake tension, they're just mates, and they kind of just understand each other, and I'm like, there doesn't need to be any fake tension. They're just good friends, and then they go off, and it's like, this is very like, it reminded me a bit of Lord of the Rings of like the brotherliness between these two characters. And the other one was so Theo, the kid with the hill, and it's like, and he just goes up to the elf and is like, hey, I've got this, and it's like, I'm glad he's not just hiding that anymore because that's dumb. He's like, hey, there's this really old guy who would know about this, who knows stuff, like let's just like tell him about it.
And I like that it wasn't the obvious like he's gonna join the evil side immediately. And the fact I did the thing, I thought one of the things I did note down was how I call them the village people, but you know, the people of the Southlands that are all in that place, they're all like, we're gonna go and fight against them, and then that one old guy who we know is like evil was like, no, we should go and bow down, and they're all like, let's do that. It's like they're incredibly fickle.
I quite like the kind of twist when they reach them. So I was listening to our last episode recently, and we were talking about how the father guy is like the biggest hint towards Sauron so far, and he goes down and it's like Sauron, and the guy fucking hits him, and it's like, this guy doesn't like Sauron or doesn't want to be associated with Sauron.
One thing I thought, actually, thinking about it, was quite interesting. We talked about the potential multiple timeline stuff there. Last episode before. That scene there where they all kind of bow down, the people who did leave to swear allegiance. There is a scene earlier where Halbrand or whatever is talking about something that happened before they left, and it shows a scene that looks very similar to that.
Right.
So I don't know if maybe he is in that crowd and has left, but the thing is, if he was their king, he would have been.
But he'd kind of been hiding it, hasn't he?
Maybe, yeah. So I was thinking at one point maybe he's the kid, but he doesn't look anything like that kid. But maybe he was there as a slightly younger man, because we just don't know when everything takes place, do we? And I'll have to watch it back to see, and I probably won't. But I'm pretty sure there was a scene that was lit similarly with a crowd of people, and I'm pretty sure people were kneeling down, and then that was how the episode ended. And I don't know if that was supposed to be.
There's a lot of potential here for like big reveals to happen soon.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's past the halfway point of the season, I think.
But yeah, I am enjoying it, and I am looking forward to watching like the next episode.
They did something which was kind of cliched, the kind of playful fight scene in the public square with Galadriel, where she's showing off.
That was good fun.
It was fine. There's also in Dragon House a very similar scene as well, with two people fighting and being like, haha, I've got you, kind of thing. But I think probably it had more weight to it, that scene. But yeah, I don't have anything else to say about it.
I mean, we've got plenty else to talk about. But yeah, Rings of Power. We'll talk about now. So Mrs. Hulk.
So it was the wedding episode. And the one thing I did enjoy was it started when she went, a wedding episode, not where you thought it was going to go, because obviously we all apart from you, actually, last episode said maybe we won't see Daredevil until the episode after, so you called it. And she's like, it always comes at the most inconvenient part of the season. It's like, okay,
yeah, like a wedding.
That's quite funny.
Yeah, but
it was just fine. I liked Mr. Immortal, the ongoing court case where he had all the wives.
Yeah,
that was quite funny, and it's just it's fleshing out parts of the MCU.
I liked, the return of Titania.
Yes, although they're not really doing anything with her.
No,
she keeps showing up and getting beaten up, basically. The guy who plays Mr. Immortal is the Twi'lek guy from Book of Boba Fett. Oh. You know, the guy who's like the sniveling diplomat guy. Yeah, that's him. And I think he's in other stuff as well. I'm sure he's in other stuff.
I think I'm pretty indifferent to She-Hulk. And I know I've kind of come to the realization it's more of an episodic show than an overarching season that a lot of other stuff is.
Yeah, I feel like it's got a real lack of momentum. And
I think it doesn't help that Rings of Power and House of the Dragon are big stuff that is ongoing at the same time.
Yeah.
But I'll keep watching it.
Yeah,
but
I'm not sure.
I don't hate it, but
I think I saw a little clip yesterday of the episode that came out today, which would be episode 7, and it didn't look like it was a Daredevil one. So I think maybe they're pushing that even further, which is fine.
Great, yeah. Woo.
Yeah.
Dragon House,
yeah.
So
much more to talk about in this one.
Yeah, before I got here, I just finished off last week's episode, and we were talking about Dragon House, and we were having a conversation about how last episode was the Strongs were great with the wedding.
Yeah, I thought that
I was like, keep an eye out for that family.
They were the most functional family in Westeros, and they all care for each other so much.
And then, this episode. So I mentioned before, I'll keep an eye out for Harwin and Strong, and they're straight in he's been fucking the princess for 10 years. He's been fucking the princess
for 10 years. He's 100% fathered those 2 children that look exactly like him, and that he acts like a father to publicly in this case, which is that whole training.
And then he's gone. Him and Lionel get burned.
Yes. Well, we don't see.
We see the bodies.
We see 2 bodies covered up. So I imagine that they've just more than me.
I think at the end of the episode, Allison says that they're dead.
Oh, really? Okay.
And he's like, well, you asked me to get rid of them.
Yeah, I quite like that because it felt. We've talked about the Littlefinger comparisons, but it was like she's unleashed this. It's almost like
Littlefinger's got nothing on this guy.
It's like he's this kind of devoted serial killer fan of hers and the fact that she said oh, if my father was here, he would have been so much better. And then he's like, do you want to write a letter to your dad then? Basically being like, he's got he can come back if
So there was the bit, obviously Damon's now married to Lena. They've got 2 kids, and then she had a difficult. I like the parallels between the other birth,
because they give him the option of,
and he's kind of like, no.
And
Even though he doesn't really love his wife.
No, he's kind of stagnated and he's buried himself in books, and it feels unsure about whether he is kind of still somewhat invested or if he's just trying to distract himself from everything else.
Yeah, because they're off in Pentos, aren't they?
Yeah, and they've just been traveling for the whole time, it seems. They've just been
off doing their
just
thing.
moving between places that will hold them, kind of thing.
But yeah, and then obviously she goes on well, she's got Vagar now, the big dragon that
very impressive when much but she says it's the biggest dragon around, doesn't she?
And then she goes and I like that Vagar was like hesitant and didn't want to.
I thought they might do the comparison with Daenerys getting the baby dragons out the fire and that the baby was going to have survived.
Right.
But is it just pureblood Targaryens that have this potential ability to survive?
Yeah, I think we don't even inconsistent, and then it's only just, certain Targaryens because, as well.
Viserys doesn't have it. The
other Viserys.
Other Viserys, yeah. So we got the new casting, which we haven't really talked about.
Yeah, I think they look like them.
Yeah,
they
I thought
in it straight away.
I thought Phoebe Bridgers did a very good job as Rhaenyra. No, they were good. They were good. I think they were slightly more nuanced portrayals.
And they are clearly older.
And
I like the tension between them. And Rhaenyra like reached out a hand to Alicent, and she kind of bats it away.
Yeah, and the fact she's not willing to let her baby go to Alicent on its own. She's like, I don't know what's gonna she might drop it or chuck it out the window. You know, and she's putting herself through all this immense pain and discomfort just to walk. And that whole like long intro, almost a one shot, I don't know. It was a really good way of catching us up with what was going on. And I think we said that last episode. We're like, they're gonna do a good
There's
catch
the
up.
one guy who's like, as she's walking past, being like, I swear my sword to you, princess. And she's like, okay, cool, thank you.
I do think her leaving, I know that she's got enemies everywhere, but them deciding to leave at the end doesn't feel like a great idea, in that within, a very short amount of time, she's going to now become heir. And it's in recent memory, she's going to have been seen to have left the kingdom.
Well, Dragonstone is where the heir to the throne tends to reside.
Right, okay, right.
Because,
and that's why Daemon went there. And
and that's also why Stannis lives there in Game of Thrones. Although Stannis was bitter about that because he wanted Storm's End.
Yes, okay.
But, I think big stuff's going to happen soon.
Very soon, okay. So you think maybe the conflict will start sooner than end of season? Okay, cool.
Yeah. I like how every episode Viserys looks worse and you think he looks dead, and then the next episode he looks even worse.
Oh god, yeah, I saw comparisons with Gollum for this episode.
Yeah.
He just looks terrible.
He really
I really like where Alicent's like doting over him, and when he actually needs help a little bit, she's just walked out of the room because she's pissed off with him.
I saw a meme that was like, no wonder Alicent's pissed. That it's got like various pictures of him getting older, and then Rhaenyra with Kristen, Harwin, and Laenor and Daemon. It's like,
I really liked when he's just become like an old grandpa. Like when
he's so adorable.
Like when Rhaenyra was proposing the thing, he's like almost like clapping his hands, like, oh, that's nice, isn't it? And when the boys are like training, he's like, oh, boys having fun.
Yeah. And when he's first shown the baby, and it's like, it clearly looks like Harwin's son, he's like, he's got your nose.
Very cute.
Yeah, I saw a couple of things. I saw Paddy Considine say that he was given a script for Game of Thrones for season 1.
Okay.
And was going to audition, but he just didn't get it, so he didn't bother.
Okay.
And it's like I could have seen him in a few different roles actually, even maybe like a Ned Stark type thing.
Yeah.
But I also saw that George R. R. Martin has really praised Paddy Considine, saying he's made him far more interesting character than I ever wrote.
That's good. Yeah.
He's doing a good job.
We get some. Well, Kristen He's just a dickhead now, basically.
Right, I love his character on this season. Like at the start, he's like, "Oh, handsome Dornish man," and then it's like, "Oh, fucking like a bit of a twat who's just pining over the princess."
Yeah.
And then this is just gone like full like almost incel behavior.
Yeah. It's like, if I can't have you, no one can.
Yeah, and the bit where he like calls her a cunt, and Alison's like, "Whoa, like I can say that, you can't say that."
Yeah, he calls her a spoilt cunt. Yeah. We get
and then the whole training montage.
So we get a load of the children. We haven't mentioned all of Viserys and Alicent's children. The prince wanking in the window is David Tennant's son.
Yeah,
probably
that scene was hilarious.
Yes.
I've seen lots of people be like, "I bet that's why Tom jumped out that window."
That window's seen some things. Yeah, that scene's great because you can see how obsessive Alicent is since she had the words whispered in her ear.
And he clearly doesn't really care.
He doesn't really understand the gravity of it.
He's just like, she's the heir. Like, I'm just having fun.
And it's like, no, some people want you to be king. Mostly me, your mom.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's just like, she really, like, she's incredible. I think it's Olivia Kirk, I think she might be called. Really, really good performance in that scene.
I think Aegon
Olivia Kirk,
is a really interesting character in this because like part of it is quite like he's just a teenager doing teenage things. He's a bit of a dick to his brother Aemon.
Yes,
who goes and sees the dragon. I'm looking forward to where
his
character goes.
The sister who's like has the snake and has the little collection of bugs in a box. She very offhandedly / foretellingly says something about him having to lose an eye before he gets that.
She does.
I'm ready for that to happen now.
Cool.
So the dragon that was down there, is that one we know about already, or is it not very clear?
I can't remember. I think it's kind of an unclaimed dragon. Like we don't know who's dragon, which is why he goes down there because he wants a dragon.
Because Laenor, she says, "I didn't get one till I was older," and that's why she's got the massive one. So you don't have to have got it from an egg, right? Okay,
you just kind of it chooses you.
And I'm guessing the youngest daughter of Laenor and Daemon may end up with that giant dragon because now that one doesn't have a rider.
Yeah, potentially.
That could be where it goes.
I like the introduction of all the kids, like Rhaenyra's kids being like, "Are we Target? Are we?"
And she's like, "It doesn't matter," and it's like. But you should probably either lie to him or tell him the truth. Don't keep this kind
I also like with Aegon, he's clearly a dick, but there's certain bits where he's quite brotherly, not just to his brothers, but also Rhaenyra's kids.
Yeah, they pick on like the youngest one, but it's not like.
And there's where they do the fighting scene. He's quite like pally with his brother, and with Jason Luke, who are the two Harwin kids.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
He's quite just like he just treats them like brothers, not not how his mother would want him to treat them.
No. Yeah. No. I like that, and I've seen somewhere that we might get some more time skips. I don't know if that's true. I saw somewhere that there was one of the younger actors is getting replaced at some point.
Really? Yeah, that
just because they're so
me.
young, they could do it within like a year or two and have it. Yeah,
that doesn't surprise me.
I don't know which ones it is.
So I saw because we've obviously had that big time jump now. So we've essentially had like a five episode prologue.
Yes.
I read that the writers of the show wanted to start at this point,
right?
But George R. Martin was like, the context of those first 5 episodes are so important to what comes. They need to be in there. So they almost wrote it as like a prologue.
I'm almost surprised with the way TV shows are done now that it wasn't done as like a cut back and forth thing.
Yeah,
and I almost think that could have worked.
It would have been hard to follow.
Yeah, they would, because a lot of those, the way that good shows that do that are written is that the flashbacks are relevant, whether that's really obviously or like metaphorically or symbolically.
But I think it was very much George R. R. Martin insists that we had that 10 years before.
I think people will appreciate. I mean, we all know a hell of a lot about these characters now.
Yeah, exactly.
And everyone's got opinions about
and
them.
we've got like the background of why they have the relationships with each other they do.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh god, we've still got to talk about another one, haven't we?
Yeah. Any final thoughts on Dragon House?
I liked the bee guy. What we talked about him. The strong guy, the little finger guy. He's got the little bees on the
and he
brooches.
cut all the tongues
and sent them off to the dirty.
Yeah,
work.
so
I
thought that was another kind of deviation from the books. In the book, it's that Harwin and Lionel died in a fire in Harrenhal, and that's it. That's all you know.
Because that's just the way it went down.
Yeah, so like the maesters who wrote the book wouldn't know because they had the tongues cut out. So it's like,
I like that. I thought it was a little bit silly that his cane that he uses has that little bee thing, and then he also gave them the little bees to wear.
I think it's just like a symbol of the house as well. So it meant that they could get close to Harwin and Lionel because they were clearly strong men. Men of House Strong. So
cool. No,
Dragon House.
I think potentially the next one we'll talk about, Andor, is also up there for me in terms of these concurrent things. But so far, Dragon House is for me miles above Mrs. Hulk and Power Rings.
Yeah,
I think it's consistently good.
Yeah, and it is really intriguing and like cool. There's the one last thing on that actually. They mention I can't remember if it's a Tully or no, it's another Riverland Lord called Lord Grover.
Oh yes, in the meeting at the King's King's Council.
And I wasn't sure if they're going to include this, but like as a little fun thing, George R. R. Martin created this character called Grover, whose two sons are called Kermit and Elmo.
Oh really?
Who then do kind of play a part in what's coming, and it's like, because they mention like, Grover and his son, but they don't say it, and I was like, at some point they're just going to be like, hey, here's Kermit and Elmo.
They might just avoid saying the names.
Yeah, because like George R. R. Martin just did it as like a little fun like in joke, and now it's been made into a big TV series. It's like, I wonder if they'll put Kermit and Elmo in.
Maybe they'll change the names very slightly, like
Kermit and Elmond.
Yeah. I go by Elmo.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
But yeah, so shall we go on to Andor?
Yes.
The one Spanish man in the universe.
Yes. Although he's from some sort of tribal indigenous population.
Yeah, I liked all the stuff with like him as a kid and seeing like his origins.
And it's just like no subtitles, just
I actually I paused it, I put subtitles on and rewound it, and then it came up just saying they were speaking the language, and I was like, and then turned subtitles back off.
What I think's interesting about that is because it's a mining planet and it's all children, it's clear that they weren't always in this little community like that, or they were, and somehow all the parents have been killed. But it seems
it might
like
be like a culling to keep them under control.
Yeah, because they also mentioned that the planet was destroyed in a mining accident, which is also what they say about the planet in Rogue One that was tested with the Death Star.
Yeah.
So I think there was some sort of cover up after to get rid of it.
That'd be.
But yeah, generally,
I'm enjoying it. It's intriguing.
Yes.
And like at first I wasn't sure if he was already part of the rebels or if he was just being all suspicious and stuff.
Yeah,
I think he was just being suspicious.
He's trying to track down his sister.
Yeah.
That's what we think anyway. We're not really sure. But then he's got no reason to believe his sister even made it off that planet. So there must be more to it there.
And then Stellan Skarsgård turns up and I was like, yeah, Stellan Skarsgård.
Yeah. I think it looks incredible. I think it's definitely the best looking Star Wars show, apart from maybe early or occasional bits of Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Like they didn't use the volume for much of it, the like thing with the screens that they stand on. And you can tell it's like that town feels very lived in, and like how Rogue One had this like gritty kind of Empire feel. They've nailed that 100%. I mean, the guy who did the reshoots for Gareth Edwards is the showrunner, So the guy who did at least like some of Rogue One.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
No, it's good fun. And I like how obviously it's one of those where like we know where his story ends.
Yes.
So it's gonna be like, oh, if he's in danger, he's not actually gonna die.
That's
but
true,
like
yeah.
I'm fine with that.
A lot of the time you know the hero is not gonna die anyway, don't you? Yeah, yeah. I think the intro scene where it's like the rain, it's kind of Blade Runner-y, is like the kind of it's like a brothel. And then he ends up with the two guys and he kills one of them by mistake. And then that guy's like pleading and I just thought it really nailed the tone of this. Like he's like he's a scumbag basically. Like
and I like that you can see it clearly played on his mind that he killed these two people.
Yeah, he because we see I think his introduction in Rogue One.
Yeah,
he kills someone and he's like not phased, but he's doing it for a cause.
And he kind of says, and he says to Han, not Han, speaking of Solo, says to what's her face?
Yeah, Felicity Jones.
Felicity Jones. Like
I've done
bad things. Like, I'm fighting for the right thing, but like every side has got to do some bad things, and I am the guy.
And that was the interesting thing about Rogue One. I think one of the
why he's got his own series because he's got an interesting backstory. And I'm glad how they're approaching it of being like it's not just he's a dick and that he does bad things, but also not like he accidentally did something once and it's playing that middle round of like. Actually, there is kind of a dark side to this guy.
There is, but he's
still good.
Yeah, because he gets the chance to kill the sniveling guy who works for the corpos. Stellan's like, just shoot him, and he's like, nah, like he's not a bad guy, but he's not a good guy either.
Yeah, which is perfect for what we saw in Rogue One.
Speaking of I think they're called corpos, like the private security empire guys. I thought that was a really interesting addition to the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, I like the guy because the guy who's like head is just like, don't worry about it. Like
he's
it's not worth it.
He's like, do a cover up, it's fine. And then this guy just goes fully in on it.
And he's like, no, but I like how you clearly see without him ever saying it that this is the guy who's fairly new to the job and wants to prove himself and make his mark.
But he's clearly that he's doing the right thing.
Yeah,
as well,
but he's also clearly not used to the violence of the streets, and he's quite taken aback by it. And
I like the guy who's like the Scottish guy who's like who almost pushes him to actually take action.
Yeah,
and when I can't remember what I think he's called like Walter or something. The like the snivelly like bad guy. He like does quite a shit speech, and then the Scottish guy's like clapping. He's like, "Yeah, go on, sir. It's all good. Like, we just want to get out there."
Yeah,
and he says shit. Did you hear that? The Scottish guy swears in Star Wars.
Huh?
Yeah,
I didn't even notice.
It's during the part in the third episode, which I think was probably the best one.
Yes,
where they're all clanking the stuff, and they're like.
I liked that.
Really,
again, it adds to that kind of like the world building side of like this is a community,
and it's kind of like a kind of pacifist what do you call it? Like they're doing something, but not anything that could get them in trouble because they know that the corpos could easily like round them up and just kill them.
Yeah,
but also it's like a rebellion, but like very kind of peaceful protest. Kind of thing, isn't it?
It's like. Star Wars has always had fantastic world building and it's always been really, really good at creating these like subcultures of different places. And this is just carried on doing that. And it's just like, man, being back in this universe, it's so easy to slip back in and just like, I get it.
Yeah.
And it's doing it great again.
Yeah, I'm really interested to where it's going. I know Stellan Skarsgård's character is probably in some sort of proto-rebellion situation.
Yeah, well, it's set 5 years before Rogue One, before the Battle of Yavin.
There's two seasons are planned, and it won't go beyond that.
You got 5 years.
I think, apparently, from what I've read, the first season is going to be in that kind of 5 year gap, maybe skipping ahead a bit. And then the second season is more immediately up to Rogue One.
Right.
But whether that's still true or not, we
might get a time jump soon where he's in the rebellion.
Because he's left that planet, but he's left quite a few characters behind there. So the one who's like his adoptive mum, who's in like Fleabag and Harry Potter and stuff.
What's her name? She's in Harry Potter.
Fiona something. I think.
Fiona Shaw.
Fiona Shaw, yeah. Who I thought was very good. I like seeing the younger and the older version of her.
Yeah, and how she's a bit of like a badass character who's now just like his adoptive mum.
And it's really sad when she knew he was leaving, but she's just sitting there with the droid they always do a good droid, don't they? Who is just kind of like that little stuttering, rusty kind of mess. Is really fun.
Yeah.
And and then also the lady who's like the mechanic who has just lost her boyfriend.
Yeah, it's his fault, wasn't it?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And also, it was like, we need to get rid of him because she's a kind of vague love interest for Andor. And also his guy who kept covering for him at work and stuff. I really like that scene where he's like, you came over last night and we had drinks. And then he's like, actually, no, this happened. He's like, that's why you've got that brew. That was I think that first episode was very good. The middle one was a little bit more
before it came out, I was on the Guardian website and they had a review of it. I didn't want to read spoilers, but they gave it like 4 stars. And they said they watched all 3 and they said it's the best Star Wars thing since The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I would agree.
And they pointed out that the first 2 episodes are a bit slow and a bit boring, but good at setting the scene. And the 3rd episode really kicks in. And then I watched it and I was like, yeah, I think I agree with that assessment.
I would agree so, yeah. I watched the first 2 episodes in bits, which wasn't ideal. It was just the way it works.
I watched all 3 back to back.
I've heard a lot of people whose reviews and stuff I've listened to have said similar things. They some people didn't expect to watch them all in one go and kind of just ended up doing it.
That's pretty much what I did.
And we've got another episode out as time recording. I think came out yesterday. So
it's time to go.
We'll be watching that by next maybe 2 episodes to go. Oh, the warehouse firefight I thought was fantastic with all the chains.
Yeah, and all the stuff falling.
The chains, it got a little bit silly and it was like, why are all these chains here?
How much of this thing's changed the
But
scene?
what I really liked was all the blaster fire felt really like punchy and like it felt like a normal firefight.
Yeah.
And you were like, shit, if someone gets hit, like they're down. And only a couple of people get shot. It was like one of the better kind of firefights I've seen in Star Wars, I'd say.
No, I agree. It was very good.
Yeah. And apparently the gun that Cassian has is a gun that a character in a Star Wars game, I think it was Dark Forces, like one of the older non-canon ones. And the character is Carl Katan, I think he might be. You might have heard.
Right, yeah.
He's the guy in the game who steals the Death Star plans. So it's effectively Cassian Andor is the canon version of him. So people are like, hey, and he has it's like a Blade Runner chunky little pistol. It's very cool.
I like that. That's another thing about like Star Wars that I've always found quite funny is obviously when they made the first Star Wars film, a lot of the props is just grab something, stick something to it, and it's a space thing. And as Star Wars is now like a multi-billion-dollar franchise, it still kind of has that where they design stuff, but they need to make it look like it's just like a gun with like a piece of Lego stuck on it.
What is it? It's in Phantom Menace even, the communicators that Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan have. It's like a Gillette razor they've stuck something on.
Yeah.
And it's like the handheld thing
There's one of my favourite mine in Empire Strikes Back when shit's going down, everyone's running around Cloud City.
Right.
There's a guy that runs past the camera like holding like a big thing.
Yeah.
And it's an ice cream maker.
Yes.
And they literally grabbed an extra, gave him a random thing and was like, just run through.
Isn't that something that came back in Mandalorian? Or is that
they
made that a thing?
They made that a thing.
It's something
it's
like
the thing that holds something that he's delivers.
It might be. It's not the eggs, is it? No, the eggs are in a bigger thing.
No, but
it might be where he keeps, those like metal things, like the Imperial.
Yeah,
might be something like that. But yeah,
they call it. Yeah. But that guy even had like action figures and stuff with his ice cream maker.
Very funny.
But yeah, Star Wars is really fun of those sort of things of making the props. Like when you actually look at it a bit closer, like wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially now they're revisiting like the same era as the original trilogy, which they obviously did with Mandalorian as well. But good fun. Yeah.
Yeah, so that is Andor.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I think that's it for this week.
Cool. So if you enjoyed that episode of the Project, the first episode of Projoctober 2022. Ooh. Get on your podcast listening application, whatever you listen to this on. Whilst you're listening right now, you can do it as I'm talking. Press like the 3 dots or whatever it works on your phone or whatever, and give us 5 stars.
Yes,
it is
please.
much appreciated. Or you can get in contact with us directly, can't you, Sam?
You can send us an email at theprojectpod@gmail.com, or you can find all our social medias in the link tree in the episode description. So you can send us any suggestions for future projects. Maybe don't send any spooky ones because we won't be able to cover them until next
Projoctober planned.
But feel free to send them. Just don't expect to see them until next year. Anything else, though, whether it's something that we might have on our list, something we've mentioned already, do send it. If we know there's any interest, we can bump it up to the top there.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, and we've got a jam-packed month ahead of us, so be sure to come back next week for something entirely different to what we've
never done before.
Oh, it's in a new format. It'll be a video one. We'll be dancing around the whole place.
Dancing.
No, it won't be video, but you can hear the sound of us dancing around while we're talking.
Yeah, we'll explain our dance moves.
We're going to get like Britney Spears mics so that you can hear us out of breath while we're leaping around the living room. I mean, the podcast studio. And that sound right there means that it's time to end the episode.
Yes. Thank you for listening. Keep up with Projoctober. We've got spooky things coming up. A big spooky thing next week. A very big. I think we've talked about this bit already. I think we need to get to the end. Yeah, sorry, I was trying to remember what I was meant to be saying. Hear you next week. Bye. Bye. There we go. Ass blasters.
Don't like excitement, eh?